you seriously going to eat, you fat blibbity blabbity blob? I mean, some of you might be like,
continual.
Why would I want to start this?
Sensitive. She's sensitive.
You are listening to the Tami Talks Unscripted Healing Podcast, where we share stories that are, you guessed it, unscripted.
That's the thing, this journey doesn't stop.
It doesn't really
right?
end. We have a general sense of the topic each episode, but really the whole point is just to show up and be authentic and let our inner child speak its truth. And I have continued to work through that story of constantly hearing, well, we don't want, got a hot dog on our hands. Yeah, guess what, Mr. Sabatsky, you do. So I'm so excited that you are here, and it is my hope that you hear yourself somewhere in the story so that way you can feel seen and heard as well. So let's start talking. Welcome to the Tami Talks Unscripted Healing Podcast. I am coming to you today with an incredibly fresh channeled message. Like I literally just left the state park having an incredibly profound conversation with a dear friend. And I was so excited that I just had to come and hit record. I had planned on going there, meeting with him, and then coming home and taking some downtime and then getting ready, changing my clothes, maybe doing my hair, maybe putting on some makeup before I sat down to record the podcast. But I couldn't. Like I literally was like, no, you need to sit down right now. You need to hit record right now. So here I am. I still got my F45 hoodie on and my Venustus heated vest, which I think I promoted in an episode previously, but we'll just get those ads out of the way now. But there is no joke. This vest is amazing, and I love that I have the option to turn this baby on and get some extra heat now that it is cooling down in Wisconsin. Hopefully we get a little more heat wave before it officially turns fall. But I will put the link in for this vest because it is a game changer for someone who is just always freaking cold. And because I happen to be wearing my F45 hoodie, this is a great opportunity to talk about our back to school free week. So hopefully you're listening to this the week before next, because the week of September 15th through the 20th, we are having our back to school free week, which means every class, every day is free to everyone. Are we crazy? No, we're just that confident that when you come in and try it, you're going to love it and all of those fun things. And it's just going to be such a great atmosphere and great energy. And we want people to experience it because sometimes it's intimidating and hard to walk through the doors of a new gym. And we figured this would be a really fun way to say, hey, parents, it is your turn. You survived summer. Come in and give yourself 45 minutes of you time for you to take care of you and pour into you. So that way you can then go home and pour into your kids or pour into work, whatever you need to. But this is a way that you can pour into yourself. And I'm super excited for that week. But yeah, so I will put the link in the show notes for F45 as well. You can either sign up on the app, F45 Training, or you can sign up online by just searching F45 Madison West. Our website will pop up. You'll see the class times. You click on that and it'll prompt you to register. But get signed up ASAP because we're opening this up to literally everyone. And we all have big mouths. So we're sharing this message like you wouldn't believe. So if you want those class times, because they are limited, that is one nice thing about F45 is you're not going to have 50, 80 people to fight for weights and fight for your spot. You have your own little station. You have your own set of weights. You're always going to be guaranteed that you have what you need to get a killer workout. So just throwing that out there for anyone. Okay. So on to today. I knew this whole last week that something was going to come through. I just knew it because I recorded the podcast last week about back to school stuff and that felt timely. And I didn't have a guest lined up for this week. I do for next. And I just trusted. Like, I know something is meant to come through. I just know it. And I had a couple very key conversations earlier this week where I was like, okay. And one was with my dear friend, Odala. And him and I met at the gym, immediate soul recognition, like, hey, you're a soul brother. Yeah. We just speak the same language, right? We both speak butterfly. And he was one of the very first people that I reached out to about being a guest on the podcast way back in 2024. And he's had some things going on in his life. Obviously, I've had stuff going on in mine, and the timing just wasn't right. And we eventually recognized that and actually just said that out loud, like, okay, like something something isn't in alignment here quite yet, but we will both trust that when it is, it is. And oh my goodness, we finally had a chance to meet outside of the gym. Went to a state park this morning, sat down by the lake, and well, before we did that, we run into this two feathers, two identical frigging feathers. For those of you that are just listening, I'm holding a giant feather in front of the camera right now. No joke. And what I love so much about this, and there's a little bit of backstory between Odala and I, and why I feel like I have such a profound connection with him, is because he was one of the very first people. No, he was the very first person to help me feel seen in this relationship that I have with God, but the way that I identify it in terms of spirituality, because there was a period of my life where I felt like I couldn't talk about both. And I felt like, well, I can only talk about God with people that only talk about God. And I can only talk about spirituality with people that only talk about spirituality. So when I'm talking about signs and angel numbers and the moon, I have to keep that over here. And I felt like I was being put in this box, and I felt like I wasn't in true alignment. And I will never forget the conversation I had with him, actually in a church parking lot, that helped me feel seen, because he noticed my quartz crystal necklace and commented on it. He noticed my 1111 bracelet and commented on it. And he pulled out a picture of his inner child, and I was like, what? What? And so ever since then, I just felt this really cool bond and connection with him, and that he gets it. He gets it. And I don't have to explain myself. I don't have to justify things. I just can be who I am and express my faith and all of those things in a way that feels authentic to me. And so I like wanted him to come and talk about that, but then he's got his own freaking story. Like, holy crap. But then we realized, like, maybe it isn't even about any of that. Who knows? We just need to trust that when the timing is right, that we'll connect and we'll have this conversation. And oh, my heart is so full after that conversation this morning. And so he is officially scheduled to be a guest on the podcast. Oh, correction. I just texted him and I said, not a guest, as a co-host. Because once you hear this man's voice, you can tell like he was always meant to share his story and to use his voice. And I told him that today. I'm like, dude, you didn't get a voice like that to not be heard. I'm sorry. God's like, yo, dude, I gave you this angelic voice that just soothes everybody and calms everybody, to do that, not to keep it to yourself, amongst his many other talents and creative abilities and things. So he is going to be a co-host on here, and I'm really excited to see where that conversation takes us, because again, today the conversation was just, it was so good. It was so profound. There were so many amazing nuggets of wisdom. And I even told him when we had scheduled this that I had to record a podcast afterwards. I didn't know what it was going to be about, but I said, something tells me that this is going to give me the clarity that I need to create a clear channel for what this podcast is supposed to be. And so here I am. So you're like, what the hell are we pressing play to? I don't actually quite know yet, which is part of the fun, right? The other very, very cool thing about all of this is that before I left to go to the park this morning, I was sharing on social media about taking my kids to the Badger game yesterday. And another gym friend of mine invited me and the kids to go. He had tickets through his work and asked if we wanted to go. And I was like, you know what? Yes, because if you listened to last week's podcast about the back to school stuff and how I had tremendous mom guilt about the experiences my kids didn't have this last summer because I was at F45. I was building this dream and they were folding towels and straightening up weights and kind of tagging along with their mom, being my little sidekick all summer. And so when my buddy Mark presented me with this opportunity to go to the game, I was like, yes, this would be the kids' first Badger game. Absolutely. Let the experiences start to come now. We don't have to wait until next summer. Let's go. And it was really special in that regard. And so I was so grateful. So anyway, I'm writing about this on social media and thanking him for not just giving us the tickets, but for creating memories, creating a present moment and an experience that, hopefully my kids will remember forever, because I got to go to the first Badger game. And so I'm writing this, and as I'm about to hit send, I have a notification come through my phone, and it was from someone, again, not even aware that this woman has been listening to the podcast. And if you are listening to this week's podcast, you know who I'm talking about. And thank you for this message, because it came at the perfect time when sometimes we're doubting ourselves, when sometimes we're like, what is the purpose of all of this? Why am I putting myself through this? And then you get a message like this. And again, I've had to remind myself a million trillion freaking times that I don't need outside validation to keep doing this. And hopefully you know that by now, because I continue to show up regardless. But when you receive things like this at the perfect time, like, you know, it was a direct message from God. And so I get this message that says, hey, just a quick note that your empaths in the wild episode was exactly what my soul needed. It gave me permission to be seen. And she said, it also aligns quite nicely with tonight's eclipse. You're damn right it does. And I just wanted to remind you that you're doing God's work. Thank you. So I respond, I can't even begin to tell you how much this message meant to me, and it was sent at the perfect time. I'm so glad you listened to your intuition to hit play on that episode and allowed yourself to be fully seen in who you are. It's also no accident that we're experiencing an eclipse and that message found you when it did. I have a feeling things are going to be shifting for you in a big way. I'm also so grateful that God worked through me to get that message to you. What was also really cool is that God worked through her to get that message to me. We are all connected, folks. And if that isn't another example of it, everything that I shared today, everything that happened this morning is another example of that. And so, switching gears a little bit, and why this eclipse and everything is so important. And it doesn't matter when you're listening to this episode, because those things would have been happening or could still happen for you. But if you are swimming in this energy right now, oh man, grab a hold, because I'm going to share a little bit about why this is so significant and why meeting up with my buddy Odala on today of all days, after we have been trying to connect for over a year and a half or more, was so significant. Because this is a cosmic turning point for release and renewal. It says the lunar eclipses, especially one in dreamy Pisces, serves as a powerful reset. Rather than ushering in new beginnings, they're about closure, clarity, and surrender, urging us to shed illusions and face emotional truths we've been avoiding, which was literally our conversation. The Pisces eclipse elevates this energy, dissolving boundaries between reality and dreams and intuition and form. Then it talks about how this is all about emotional revelation and inner work. And it says, under the Pisces full moon glow, this lunar eclipse intensifies emotions, amplifies spiritual insights, and emotional breakthroughs. Again, literally everything that happened this morning. Whether it brings closure, healing, or clarity, it's a moment to listen deep and realign with your soul's truth. So yeah, that was very apparent in my conversation with Odala this morning. And like I said, as soon as I got home, like, I have to hit record. I have to record. I know exactly what this message is supposed to be about because of what we talked about. And so when he comes on the podcast, who knows where the conversation is going to go, because we have so many things that we can talk about, but this in particular. And there was one quote that came to mind as soon as I sat down. And you've likely have heard it before, but I need you to hear it again. And I need you to hear it now. And if you have to close your eyes, not if you're driving and listening to this, please don't do that. But I need you to hear this. I need you to not only hear this, I need you to feel this, because this message isn't just for me. It isn't just for Odala. This is for all of you listening, and for all of you that may not hit play into another 5-10 years when you're on this part of your soul's journey. But it says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, famous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And as I am reading this, it makes me think back to a text I got earlier this week from my dear friend Maria, who is hosting her very own online summit. I believe it's not this week, but maybe next week, the 19th. I will post that in here if she's okay with that. Hopefully she's okay with me giving her a shout out for this summit, because what I have witnessed that woman do within this last year is absolutely incredible. And so when I sent her a text to be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, she also said, I officially resigned from working for the man. Yesterday was my rebirth day. No more split energies. Taking a chance on myself. Thanks for demonstrating your courage and doing the same. It allowed my path to be a little brighter and more impossible to resist. It just hit me. I didn't remember that she wrote that specifically, and then I just read that freaking quote to you. This is real and this is happening. And it's up to you if you want to hop on and go on this ride with us and take advantage of this energy that is out there for all of us, that God is like, yo, I'm trying to wake you guys up. Stop resisting this. Stop trying to dim your light. Stop trying to play small. It is not why I called you here. That is not why I gave you these gifts, this voice, this creative vision, this knowledge, this insight. That's not why I gave you that, to sit here and work for other people and to take on these roles that never served you, to silence yourself. That's not why I gave you these gifts. And that was so clear this morning, because I'm sitting here with my friend who is, to me, the most enlightened and spiritual person I know, soul I know. I have had him up on a pedestal. Even this morning, as I'm going to meet with him, I'm thinking like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to hang with him. I don't know if he's speaking like exquisite butterfly language, and I don't know if I can speak to that level. No shit. I had those thoughts this morning, and I know this person. I've known him for years, and he's never, ever made me feel that way. But all of a sudden, my ego kicked in and be like, oh shit. And when Maria had posted her stuff about the summit, she originally invited me to it, and it didn't work out for other reasons. But when I saw her panel, this has just happened earlier this week. I saw the panel, and you know what? My ego immediately said, oh, well, you wouldn't have been able to hang with them anyway. What would you have had to offer? You're not an expert in any of those areas. And I heard that and I was like, whoa. But it was real. I had this like immediate imposter syndrome. I had this immediate, well, who do you think you are? Like, there's no way you could have stood next to these experts. What do you have to offer? Yeah. So that's the wave that I go on too while I'm exploring this. But in continuing to shine my light, it allowed her to see her path, to open that up, to see someone else going first, taking those risks. It's supposed to help inspire you, to help you see. And oftentimes people like me spend so much time and energy worrying about the people who don't see it that way, who see it as this bragging, boastful, who do you think you are thing. And we keep ourselves small because of them. And when we do that because of them, we're denying all the people over here like Maria and this other woman who just sent me a message. We're denying them the light that they need to see. What are we doing? Whoa. And it feels like it's this collective shaking us up and like, knock it off. I need you to step into your light right now. Right now. This is the time. This eclipse, we're eclipsing out all that shit. All that shit that never served you, but it did not serve the collective. And that is why I gave you these gifts to begin with. God ain't playing anymore. And I feel that with those of us, with all of us that have this message, that have this yearning that something needs to be different, that this isn't the way it's supposed to be, that there is healing and love that the world needs. And somehow we've got to get that message out there. It's like, nope, we are done with all y'all playing small to serve these people over here that never wanted to see you anyway, never wanted to see you in that light, never wanted to see themselves in that light. So here's the thing. There's a reason that we're doing this. And it's interesting of how our own egos can play tricks on us to think that we're doing this because we don't want to make other people feel comfortable, that we're doing this so we don't make other people feel uncomfortable. And this is where we have to turn that mirror around. Like, is it that? Is it that? Is it truly that? That we think that it's our people pleasing, that we think it's our compassionate side, our empathetic side? Or is it that we're actually afraid of our own power? Is it that we're actually afraid of our own light, and that fear of failure, that fear of rejection is actually so much bigger, but now we're projecting it. And I was like, well, I'm doing this because I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. When really, when we take a hard look at ourselves, like, oh shit, this may actually be coming from my fear. Because what if I do shine my light and they reject me? Yes, I might be making them feel uncomfortable, and that's one layer of it. But if that's where we stop, we are doing that same thing and projecting our fears onto them, whereas they're also projecting it back onto us. Be like, well, who does she think she is? Right? It's like this game that we just keep playing back and forth. We just keep passing back the ball, this blame game, when really, is it not that we are afraid of our own power? And that is what we need to look at. This fear of judgment, this fear of regret. Which one is heavier? Which one would you actually want to carry? I don't want to have regret. So am I willing to face judgment, willing to face criticism and all of that other kind of external stuff? Sure, because I don't want to be the one that has regret that I didn't go for it because I was too worried about what other people thought. I don't want to live with that. So sometimes we have to see this as an actual form of self-sabotage. This is a form of protection, because when we downplay our wins, when we soften our voice, when we hold back our message, when we hold back our art, when we hold back, that's when we have to take a look at what is going on as a form of protection. And really, when you really look at it closer, it's a form of self-sabotage. But you can have love and compassion for why you're doing it, because you can see, oh, my ego is trying to protect my inner child from that fear of rejection, from that fear of abandonment, from that fear of judgment. But that is causing us to abandon ourselves, abandon our dreams, abandon our goals, abandon our gifts, abandon who we are. And that was part of the conversation that I had today, was when I talked about how I would abandon myself. He's like, whoa, wait, come back to that. What do you mean? How did you do that? How were you doing that? And we do it in the most subtle of ways. When we're having a bad day and we have to put on the happy face and try to keep everyone else happy, but yet inside was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to show up today. And there's just something like inauthentic about that, right? Where it's like, why can't I just show up as I am and allow people to see me in every light, right? And no more like packaging up who I think people need me to be, when this is how I am today. This is how I'm showing up today. I'm showing up in my hooded sweatshirt and a vest today, and I don't care. You've seen me come on here and I'm crying, or I might be fired up like I was earlier, or I might be in a really happy mood. Like, I'm just allowing myself, giving myself permission to feel it all, to experience it all. We are souls that came here to go through this experience and to experience life and to experience its fullness. But our ego has tried to put us in this little tiny box to keep us safe. But safe isn't allowing us to experience life. It isn't allowing us to step into our gifts. It isn't allowing us to express who we truly are. And in doing that, we have this society that's just stuck in this low vibrational energy, just going through the motions, just on autopilot. And so, yeah, when someone in that state sees someone vibrating differently, that's going for their dreams and going for their goals, sure, it can look like, ugh, who do they think they are? When really it's like, no, I need to hold this frequency and allow them, hopefully, to be able to see that maybe that irritation that you have is actually within you, because your inner child and your soul is like, yeah, why aren't you doing that same thing? Why aren't you going for your goals? Why aren't you thinking beyond this box, this job, this whatever? You have that in you too. We all do. But if you don't think that you can do what I'm doing, in your own way, you are also still playing small. I'm playing small in many ways in my life, even though I have a podcast, even though I'm part owner of F45. There's still ways that I'm like, oh, Tami, you're still playing small. You're still dimming your light. Where somebody can be like, whoa, shit, if you're dimming your light, what am I doing? It's all relatable. It's just on a different scale and a different level. But we have to allow ourselves to start where we're at and be open to asking those questions. Be open to reflecting, being able to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, whoa, why is what she's saying or what she's doing irritating the hell out of me? Why do I roll my eyes when I see things that she posts or that he posts or that he writes or that he creates? That is a you thing. And that was probably one of the greatest gifts that I finally got and received, was that when those things come, because that's what kept me playing small for so long, was that fear of judgment. Like, what if I say these things, or what if I put this out there? They're going to think X, Y, and Z. And now I realize, like, whatever comes up for them is for them. And if I'm not for them, okay. That doesn't change how I feel about this mission or about how much I love myself. Because I know when I see someone that does something and it irritates me, I immediately like, ooh, why is that triggering you? Why is whatever she's doing or posting triggering you? I immediately turn that mirror back around because I know it has nothing to do with that other person. And so by giving more of you out there that permission to just do the thing and to just go for it. And because whatever that fear is about other people has nothing to do with you. You are just shining a light and it's casting their shadow. And if they're not ready to look at it, that's for them. That's not for you to fix or to worry about. That is their soul's journey. And sometimes when we try to come in and fix and hold the hand and do those things, we deny them of the gift they need to go within the dark, to go within themselves. So sometimes stepping away is the greatest gift you can give. But in doing so, not dimming your light to shine even brighter, because now they're going to need that light even more. And maybe at some point, you just never know when something's going to click for them and be like, I get it now. And then maybe they'll be reaching out to you, be like, hey, a couple years ago, you really triggered the you-know-what out of me, but thank goodness you did, because it woke something up in me and made me realize that I also wanted more, that I also deserved to live a different life and to operate in my gifts and whatever it is. So we have to remember that your light is meant to give permission to others, not to curate it, not to put the dimmer switch on and like, well, this group of people, they can tolerate me at this intensity, at this frequency, but this group of people can only tolerate so much of this light, so I better dim it down even more. No, God's asking us like, no, you can create a dimmer switch for your bedroom or living room, but I did not create that for you. I did not install a dimmer switch for you. Get rid of that. Your ego created the dimmer switch. The ego created the dimmer switch to keep you safe, to keep your inner child safe from feeling any form of rejection. But when we can go and heal these childhood wounds, where that even originated from, or to even just acknowledge them, that can change the game for you. To recognize, no, your inner child actually wants you to operate in your gifts. Your inner child wants you to paint and draw and sing and write again. Your inner child wants you to use that intuitive knowledge that you have, to go into a corporation and drop some knowledge on them, be like, whoa. I think that's what Odala said at the end of our meeting today, was like, you just dropped some Muhammad Ali knowledge on me just now. Because I was like, whoa, what? And I know some of you have that. When you're speaking to people, when you're talking to people, like, whoa, I never thought about it that way. Like, there's a reason that you were given that gift of insight. You have that knowledge somewhere in you. You don't know how you know it, but you do. And there's so many things around all of these topics that I talk about. I don't know how I can just talk about it, because right now I know I'm just channeling, but I'm not going to be able to spew out facts and figures to you and rehearse some Bible verse. That's not how I get my knowledge. It's not how I retain knowledge, but I still trust in that what comes through is meant to come through. And so sometimes receiving those little messages, it's God like, hey, keep going. You're right. You're right. Keep channeling. Keep getting this message out there. Keep waking these people up, because I gave all of you gifts. I gave all of you an intuition. I gave all of you this beautiful, magnificent light. But if we don't address our wounds and start to even love those shadow aspects of us, anytime that you feel like your message might be too much, you might be too much, your personality's too much, your energy's too much, whatever is too much, what if that light, all the way on, full on light, as bright as it can be, is actually the medicine, the light that someone needs to get through their own darkness? Just like Maria. If she wouldn't have stumbled across my Facebook feed, even though she had been off Facebook for a while, and then all of a sudden comes back on, and what do you know, I'm magically starting a podcast, and she's like, wait, what? What is Tami doing? Oh, Tami's shining her light? Well, then that evoked something within her to like, oh, I must want something more than this 9-to-5 job that I have. Like, what is this stirring in here? Or she could have been like, oh, who does Tami think she is with a podcast? What does she have to share? No, she didn't see it that way at all. She turned that mirror around and said, Maria, this is showing you something about you and what you want. And she did something with that, and she got into action, and she worked through those shadows. She worked through her ego that constantly would pop up and say, who are you to lead an online summit? Who are you to quit your job and trust yourself? Meanwhile, her inner child and highest self are like, hell yeah, this is exactly what we were always meant to do. And yes, there's going to be this fear of what if there's no safety net, and what if I fall, and but if God has given you these gifts, given you this mission, given you this message, like, why wouldn't he also provide? And trust me, I've shared this on the podcast a million times. Like, there's moments where I'm still like, okay, how much more proving of trust do I need to give you before we start seeing some of that? Anyway, but just like that quote from earlier, your hiding does not serve anyone. It actually starves them. Hear that again. Your hiding does not serve anyone. It actually starves them. You are doing no one a favor by dimming your light, by playing small, by staying in a job where you know you just feel unsettled, or a relationship where it's like doing it to keep other people happy when really that's not actually the root of it. That is one level of it. We're afraid of confrontation. We're afraid of that discomfort of change. But in doing so and staying there, we are abandoning ourselves. We are settling for less. And that ache that you feel, again, it's like your soul calling, like, this is not what we came here for. This is not what we came here for. How many more lessons, how many more tests do you need before you recognize this is never where you were supposed to stay? And I had to make you so uncomfortable that you had no other choice but to leave, but to move. And what if we could actually empower ourselves to do those things, to make those changes before we get shoved out the door, before things end terribly and we're like, you know what? No, I'm going to walk out on my terms. I'm going to leave on my terms as an empowered energy, versus I'm just going to lay there and maybe they'll fire me, right? Maybe they'll just leave me. Maybe this will happen. Like, or I realize like I'm worthy of more and I have something to offer. And I'm giving myself permission to step into my gifts, knowing that there is a reason that God gave me those gifts. And yeah, I might have to learn some things along the way to get to that place where things are growing and evolving and you feel successful in it. And I certainly have felt that, like, yeah, I knew, okay, this is part of my path, but I had a lot of worthiness stuff to work through. If I would have just been given this $1 million check to run this podcast, would I have ever gotten to the root of my worthiness wound? No. So like, you need to sit in this. And I have many times. So I want you to ask yourself, where are you still playing small? Where are you afraid to be seen? Where are you shape-shifting? And again, I wanted to say to keep other people comfortable, but that is not why you're doing it. That is not why you're doing it. This is between you and your ego and your inner child. This has nothing to do with anyone outside of you. Because if there are certain people in your life that make you feel like you need to play small, They are your mirror. They are reflecting back to you that there's still that work to do. Just like when I saw that thing about with Maria's speakers, and that it created this like, well, who are you two? Who are you to stand next to these people? And what are you going to speak about? What is your expertise in? But at the same time, I'm sitting there with my friend Odala, again, who I have put up on a pedestal, who I'm not sure I can speak at the same level at. And I know that I was giving him insights and knowledge that may shift something for him. I did that. Me and God and the channel that worked through me to get to him. So why am I worried about where I level up with people? And like, just no, that's not the energy for me. I don't want to be in that energy. I don't want to play in that energy. And yeah, I know that sometimes credentials and certifications and all of these things make other people feel warm and fuzzy inside. And that would tend to boost my own confidence. Like, well, look, I have this and that, so you better trust me. When I have been in therapist's office who had all of those certifications and qualifications on the wall, and they were asking me for help. So part of this podcast was also me fully stepping into my light. Like, holy shit, Tami, you know what you're doing. When you trust yourself, you actually do know what you're doing. And in a funny way, while I was helping Odala do that this morning, he helped me do that as well. Because in being able to give him that gift and being able to share my knowledge and insights with him, he helped me see that I could help someone like him and that I don't have to play small in that anymore or think about, well, I can only serve this person or this person because of their status or this knowledge or whatever. I was like, no. And it was so interesting to me yesterday. I was at this Badger game and they were doing the wave, right? And I just had this moment where I sat back because, again, I'm an empath, so I'm very mindful of not taking on other energy. And so big crowds like that generally aren't my jam. But I went in, I'm enjoying this moment with my kids and I'm not taking anyone else's energy on. And it was great. And I had this awesome experience to almost like feel myself outside of it all. And I had this thought come over me. And I'm going to say this on the podcast, not even worried. I have thought about it before this of, oh, what are people going to think when you say this? I don't care. It felt so true and grounded in my soul. When I looked around the stadium, I felt this energy of like what I have to share and the mission that I was given and this message that I was meant to send could literally help everyone in this stadium. Everyone in the stadium. There are babies in here. There are 80-year-old people in here. Everyone. I could help everyone. Not a doubt in my mind. Everyone has an inner child in them. Everyone has an ego. And I could hear these conversations and I can't turn it off. I hear what people are saying and I see the things that they're doing and I can read their energy. It's everywhere. We are all walking around masking ourselves and filtering our messages and dimming our light. And I hear parents shushing their kids or telling them to act a certain way. And I just thought to myself, no, your message is this big. It is this important. This is just one stadium of people. And that was the first time that I allowed myself to truly feel the impact of this message. And even though this Tami Talks podcast is this itty bitty thing, something yesterday was like, you've just been in preparation this whole time, girl. I've needed you to get to this place where you could stand in this stadium and know with certainty that your impact could be this big and even bigger. But I couldn't trust you with that mission fully, this message fully, until you could hold this frequency, until you could hold this belief in what I sent you here to do. And so there was no question in my mind that that needed to happen yesterday, for the meeting to happen today with my friend Odala, who's going to be a co-host on this podcast. And who knows what other creative endeavors him and I partner up on, because we both have a very similar message and mission. And I feel like yesterday was the first time I owned that. And I think yesterday standing in that stadium was the first time that I overcame that deep fear. of my own power, that power that Marianne Williamson talked about in that quote, and that it's our light, not our darkness, that frightens us most. Who am I to help a stadium full of people heal their inner child and connect back to their soul's purpose and step into their gifts? Who am I? Who am I not to be? Just like I told Odala today, you didn't get that voice and have this creative mind to keep it to yourself. That is not why God gave you that gift. And if that's true for him, why isn't that true for me? If I know that his message could help stadiums of people, millions of people, why isn't that the same for me? And the more that I step into that and give myself permission to do that and to be fully in my own light, that is going to help people like Odala, people like Maria, people like you, whoever is listening and watching, and you've had that feeling too, where there's just something inside of you that you can't explain, this gnawing, this restless energy, this something's missing, something's off, this lack of fulfillment. There's something. You don't know how to name it, but you know it's there. I'm hoping this episode gives you permission to say, I'm not using this dimmer switch anymore. This light is on. This light is full on. And if people have a problem with that, you can start handing out shades. So I love that song. Future looks bright. Gotta wear shades. Hand them out. Hand them out. Because this energy right now is calling for us to get rid of all of these things that no longer serve us. These parts of us that were never truly ours, but that our ego brought on so that way we could protect ourselves. And Odala brought up the phrase midlife crisis. And I remember, gosh, this was way back in probably 10 years ago, that first time I saw that quote by Brene Brown. I think about this quote by Brene Brown. And I remember seeing it when I was like, am I having a midlife crisis right now? And I saw this and it changed everything for me. And I think that's probably the first time that I realized, oh, this is happening for me. So I'm going to read this to you again. Midlife is when the universe gently places her hands upon your shoulders, pulls you close, and whispers in your ear, I'm not screwing around anymore. All of this pretending and performing, these coping mechanisms that you've developed to protect yourself from feeling inadequate and getting hurt, has to go. Your armor is preventing you from growing into your gifts. I understand that you needed those protections when you were small. I understand that you believed your armor could help you secure all the things you needed to feel worthy and lovable. But you're still searching, and you're more lost than ever. Time is growing short. There are adventures ahead of you. You can't live the rest of your life worried about what other people think. You were born worthy of love and belonging. Courage and daring are coursing through your veins. You were made to live and love with your whole heart. It's time to show up and be fully seen. Boom. Yep. So if you are one of those experiencing that midlife unraveling, welcome. Let me help you unravel all of the things that were never yours, never who you were only coping strategies, were all the forms of protection and ego. That's what so much of this is about. And someday, maybe not someday, I will. I'm going to write Brene Brown a letter and thank her for that shift early on in my journey, because I think about how much that shifted things for me and looking to embrace what was happening versus trying to resist it. And certainly I did for a long time, because again, it took me a very long time to exit my marriage and start that journey. And there was other things as well, but it helped me find trust in that, oh, this is all happening for me. So it is not a midlife crisis. If anything, it's a crisis of your soul. And that it is trying to get your attention, that this life that you have built around these false identities in this false sense of security are not actually meant for you, or what was meant for you in this lifetime, that there is so much more. So much more. And so I think I'm going to leave you on that. And again, I have no idea what I just said through any of this. So it's always funny to go back and watch it as I'm editing, because I truly just channel. I have no idea what came through. There were a couple of times I took some pauses because I needed to reground myself, but I hope whatever came through in a way that you could hear it and you could find yourself within the stories that I shared today. Because your ego will convince you that it's selfish for you to go after what you want. Your ego will tell you that it's selfish for you to put your family at risk. Go back to Karen's episode and what she was going through. We literally shared it in the moment as she's working through this, putting her family at risk for leaving this job she's had for 30 years to follow this soul's purpose. Please don't ignore your intuition. Please stop abandoning those goals and dreams and those thoughts that just won't leave you. They are there for a reason. They are your breadcrumbs. At least allow yourself to explore them. At least allow yourself to entertain what it could feel like and be like without ego swooping in and trying to rain on the parade. Just go into the dressing room and try it on. Like, how would that feel to be up on stage? How would that feel to be a consultant in my own company? That one's for you. You know who you are. What would it feel like to start my own business? What would it feel like to start putting my art out there? What would that feel like? And if it feels like it would light you the fuck up, then do it. Then do it. This is the energy. This is the time. You're getting this message when you're getting it for a reason, because you're ready to hear it. It's up to you how long you want to stew on it. But I will tell you this: God and the universe respond to people who take inspired action, who fully trust, who fully believe. That's what I got for you today, folks. Thanks for tuning in and press and play. Ooh, one last thing before I officially sign off. There has been a word that keeps coming through this week. It started last Monday, and I've received it several times today. And the word is clear. Clear on our mission, clear on our purpose, clear on who we are, clear on the work that we need to do, clear on our energy. What in your life needs to be cleared? And how can you be more clear moving forward? This eclipse energy is here to help you do that. It may not do it in the most gentle of ways, but hopefully you feel clear after this. Some of you got a little head start. You're ahead of the energy. Yay, you. And I certainly felt that this morning. I woke up and I felt much more clear, not as heavy as I did last Monday. But that is the energy right now. It is clearing away this veil, this illusion, this mask, whatever it is that we have been operating under for who knows how long. The message is to get clear. Get clear about what it is that you want out of your day, out of your relationships, out of your career, out of your life. Get clear about that. Don't worry about the how. Just get clear about what it is you truly want and about who you truly are. And let this energy strip away everything that isn't. Fully surrender to that. I don't even worry about manifesting and doing all those things anymore. I was like, energy, do what you got to do. If you're coming in here to strip away everything that isn't me, have at it. You need to take people away, bring people in, bring it. Let's go. I am fully surrendered to whatever God and the universe have in store for me, and I don't want to resist it anymore. And so my hands are out. Let's go. Bring in that clarity. I'm here for it, and I'm ready to let go of whatever isn't that. So on that note, I will officially leave you with that and send you all the energy that you need to get clear. See you next week.